everyone, and welcome to the second of our two lessons on transformations. This lesson, we're going to cover the more complicated transformations of reflecting, stretching, and compressing. I'm hoping that the first one wasn't too bad for you guys, and if this second one ends up being too rough, remember we're just going to be focusing on practice stuff pretty much the entire week, okay? So, let's go ahead and get started with this. We talked about these transformations right here of shifting it up and down and shifting it left and right by adding and subtracting on the outside and inside. Now, with that's adding and subtracting, what do you think is going to happen if instead of adding and subtracting, we multiply? So I have a times 2. Any idea what that's going to do? I want to focus on a single point right here. What do you think this point's going to do? Do you think it's going to go 2 up like usual when we added 2? It's actually going to go 2 down. Let's take a look at the next point right here. Where do you think that's going to go? It should go 2 down also, right? But instead, it goes 2 up. And the reason for this is actually pretty simple. Look at the y value here. This used to be at -2, right? What's -2 times 2? It's -4. So what's 2 times 2? That's going to be 4. So this -2 down here is going to be -4. And this one that's 2 up is going to become 4. So it gets effectively stretched. And notice how when we increased the size of it, we didn't move it left and right at all. It only ended up moving up and down because we are multiplying the y values only. So, I wonder if that's what makes it stretch. What do you think should make it shrink? Oh, I know. Let's make it into a negative, right? But it actually turns out if I turn it into a -2, this is what it looks like. It doesn't shrink it. It actually flips it upside down. So it flips it over the x-axis effectively. So that didn't work out. But something we should keep in mind, right? That it flipped it over like that. But that didn't make it shrink. So we have to think for a moment. If I multiplied it by 2 to make it twice as big, how could I shrink it? How could I compress it? What if I want to make it half its size? Oh, wait. If I want to make it half its size, can't I multiply by 1/2? And in fact, yes, if you multiply by 1/2, you'll get it half of its size. You compress it. So it turns out if the number is bigger than 1, if it's greater than 1, it makes it bigger. But if it's less than 1, it makes it smaller. So this is our new table right here, where if you multiply it by an a value, whatever that number is going to be, if it's greater than 1, it stretches it vertically. If it is less than 1, it compresses it. And if it's negative, it flips the graph upside down. So let's go ahead and, we tried this on the outside. What about on the inside? Let's do a times 2 on the inside. So if you're thinking about this logically, when we add and subtract on the inside, it moved it left and right. So this should clearly stretch it or compress it horizontally, left and right. But take a look what happens here if I do 2. It's not going to be 2 times as long. It actually ends up being half the length. So whatever the number is, it does the opposite. If it was a 3, it'd be 1/3 the size. If it's 1/4, it'd be 4, it'd be 1/4 the size, so on and so forth. So how can we make it, instead of it being half the length, how can we make it twice as long? Well, once again, let's think about the opposite. Couldn't that just be, what's the opposite of times 2? Times 1/2. Yeah. In fact, times 1/2 will make it so long it goes off the graph. So now we know that if it's greater than 1, it actually makes it shrink, while if it's less than 1, it's going to stretch the graph horizontally. Now the big question is this. What is going to happen if it's a negative? Now, I'm actually not going to show you the graph for this. I just want you to think about this for a moment. If it's a negative, you got it right. It actually flips it horizontally. And it'll flip it over what we call the y-axis. We'll go into more details in the future. But here we've collected all these little tricks. And if you haven't been taking notes, what I highly recommend is you take a look at this next slide, which is the collection of all the transformations we've just talked about. And what I want you guys to do is I want you to either write this down or make a screenshot of this. Save yourself some time. Now, we're not going to do any graphing yet. What we're going to do is do the graphing for the next half of the week. So for today, for our class, I'm simply going to show you like equations, and I want you guys to tell me how will something change based on the equation changing. All right, but that's it for today's lesson. Make sure you do the homework, and you have a good day. Bye.